I think immediately there was shock. You're never prepared. Certainly, even after hearing the news, after being there, being told, I just couldn't believe it happened. He was working for a gentleman at a horse stables, and he was following them to get hay, and was hit broadside by an 18-wheeler, killed instantly. The two trucks caught fire. They couldn't get Alex out. The truck driver was unharmed, which we're grateful for. Hardest day of our life. I remember being angry right away, and it was not at the truck driver. I was mad. Alex had already started writing a book. He wanted to be a writer. He was very talented. He had a trip planned to Ireland and Scotland and Wales with his school. Kobe was going with him. I remember just screaming, sitting in the ambulance screaming, at God, asking, what about Ireland? What about Scotland? Hayden just put his hand on my leg and said, Mom, I promise he's getting to see it all. He's getting to see all of it right now. And I remember just thinking, how do you know that? But he was certain. And I couldn't ask why or how. How do you know this, Hayden? I couldn't ask. I just could tell in his eyes he knew. My faith. I've always been faithful. I've been a Christian most of my life. I've always loved the Lord. Alex was a miracle baby. I started trying to lose him in my 3rd month. I didn't understand. We got him here. He's perfect. He's had a perfect life. He's been healthy. He's been happy. He was a wonderful young man, always happy, always smiling, never hurting anybody, always worried about someone who was hurting though. Always just a little Christian from the day one. Since he was a little boy, it didn't make sense why God would take him. It didn't make sense. A loss is a loss, but to lose a child to me is the worst loss. That's not how it's supposed to go. You grow up and you know that you might bury your parents. You get married, you know you might possibly someday bury them or them bury you. But not a child. And nothing about the accident made sense. I didn't understand why God allowed the fire. I didn't understand why I didn't get to see him. And it took a long time. I didn't know what I believed anymore. I questioned God's very existence. I questioned his goodness. Matter of fact, I told him it wasn't good. I said, you're not a good God. You're not a loving God. Because how could you do this to someone who is so good. And I remember that night, right before I fell asleep, I closed my eyes and I just saw Christ hug Alex. And when he leaned away from him, I didn't hear it, but I read his lips and he said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And I think that helped because I didn't feel like God had punished us. I'd been feeling like that. I brought up all my sins. I asked, why? So many times. But I believe that Hayden's right. It was just, he did exactly what he was supposed to do, and he did it well. So he got to go home. And I remember another thing Hayden said to me that was so profound was, if you don't stop thinking about what happened and start thinking about where he is, you're not going to be okay. And I knew he was right. I knew I had to stop thinking about the accident, and that was not easy. There was a lot still surrounding that was unsettled, and once it was settled, that helped. But I was still very angry with God. It's not that I didn't realize Alex was his all along. We knew it. We dedicated Alex back to the Lord when he was 5 months old, and we accepted that he was his first and only ours alone. But you don't feel that way once God takes him. You want him back, and you're not okay with it. And I wasn't okay for a long time. None of us were. We set up a scholarship in his memory and met so many wonderful people through that, and we helped 4 children that year go to college, and this year we were able to help 3, and we'll always keep that going. We found a great peace in carrying on his legacy, if you will. The first Thanksgiving was really hard for us because I was so angry. I wasn't thankful for anything. I remember thinking, be thankful. Nothing. I couldn't think of not one thing. And it seemed like just shortly after the holidays, I felt like, you've got to be thankful for something. And I went, and I just made it a point. I said, I'm going to go and just thank God for a few things. I thought of 1 or 2. And I remember going into Alex's room praying, because that's where I did a lot of my praying and reading. And I remember looking at a clock, and I don't know why. It wasn't normal for me to do that, but for whatever reason I looked at the clock before I went in there, and I started my prayer out, Lord, I thank you. I'm thankful. And I remember a few things I said. To me, I felt like I was in there just a little while, but I remember when I came out, I looked at the clock, and I couldn't believe what I saw. I went and looked at another clock. I'd been in there for 3 hours, and all I did was say thank you. All I did was bring up one thing after another. It just started coming to me. It come pouring out of me, if you will. I didn't expect to have joy at that point, but I was happy to have peace. And I also realized that as angry as I was at God, I'd never stopped loving him. And even though I questioned everything, I realized he never had to give us Alex in the first place. And I started trying to think right then, what else have you done that I didn't say thank you for? What else have you done that I've taken for granted? And it wasn't easy because my spirit wanted to give in so many times. But I will say, through all of that, through all of the anger, and I'm being very cautious about what I say. I'm sugarcoating it almost because I got very angry at God. I could shout at him. I could yell at him. I call it when I was boxing God, because I felt like he was within swinging distance, and I swung and I swung. But the whole time he's just drawing me closer and closer. And I really believe the day that I was praying and was grateful in what I would call my thankful prayer, I believe that day I really met the Holy Spirit, and they call him the Great Comforter. And for the first time, I felt arms wrap around me. I felt comforted. We see things through worldly eyes. And I think also when you're in the pits of despair and God's right there with you, he reveals his ways. He has to change our view or we're not going to get better. He has to help us see his love in all things. And something Kobe and I held on to was that Romans 8:28. All things work together. All things, not some things. And I read scripture even differently now. I read his word and he doesn't say if I do this. He says when. And all, not some. And those things have become strength for me. A huge turning point for us. I spoke about the trip to Ireland that Alex had planned that he did not get to go on. I remained pretty angry about that. I think I held on to that one because Alex had never asked for anything. He didn't ask for anything for himself. He would always ask for someone else. That was a big thing, that trip. And his dad wanted to go with him, and that didn't get to happen. In April of 2009, God gave Kobe a dream. And he said Alex was about 21 in the dream. And he kept saying, Dad, I have something I want to show you. Dad, there's something I want you to see. I got to see this. And Kobe wouldn't look. All he wanted to do was hug Alex and hold him and kiss him and smell him. And he just knew if he took his eyes off for a second, he was going to be gone. He could tell it was going to be very quick. So he just hugged him and held him and kissed him and smelled him. And Alex kept going, but Dad, and he kept doing his hand like this. I have something I want to show you. I want you to see what I got to see. And Kobe said the whole time he's just hugging him and burying his face in his neck and he's just not looking. And the next morning he's telling me this dream and I said, Kobe, did you see anything? And he said, I saw just out of my peripheral vision. He said, I saw a large body of water and these weird rocks and green. It was really, really green. And I said, where do you think you were? He said, I think we were in Ireland. And I said, do you want to go? And he said, I do. I said, okay. We left for Ireland and Scotland and Wales right after Alex would have graduated. So it was June of 2009. And that was really hard. It was hard for me. Kobe was already planning on going to Hayden. Sure, he should get to see it, but I still had guilt. I didn't feel like I should get to see it. I think it was the second night we knew we were going to be in Edinburgh, Scotland. And I remembered there was a castle Alex wanted to see. But we were going to go see a different one. We were going to go to Holyrood Castle. And so the very next day we pulled up, the next day we were on our way to that castle and they informed us that the Queen was in quarters that day and that we couldn't go. So we were going to go to another one and it was Edinburgh Castle. That's the one Alex wanted to see. When we got there, I remember we were in the weapons room and I started thinking about Alex's group that his school, they were still on their trip, and I thought about them and I thought, I wonder if we might get to see them. And this voice in my head's like, no. And I'm like, I know. And just, we went up on the very top of the castle, and it was very windy that day, and Kobe had given me his jacket, and he had on a sleeveless shirt, and it exposed his tattoo he had gotten for Alex. and it's a Celtic cross, and it has Alex's name in it. And one of the kids from Alex's school saw the tattoo and said, "Oh, look, that man's tattoo says Alex. It's a sign," because they had been looking for signs that Alex was with them, and because they could feel his presence, but they just wanted a sign. Then the young man looked over and saw me and started screaming my name. And I couldn't believe we saw him. I couldn't believe we saw the group that he was supposed to go with. They left 4 days before we did. They started out in Ireland, we started out in Scotland. We weren't even supposed to be at that castle. But I knew right then, I knew that there was divine intervention. And I felt like Alex had a big part in it. I'm not going to take any credit away from God, but I felt like Alex was like, let them all see it. Let them see each other. The day before our trip was over, we went to the very northern part of Ireland. It's called the Giant's Causeway. And the minute Kobe got off the bus, he just took off. We had to go to a presentation first and see a short film. As soon as that was over, he was out of there, and I was just like, what is he in such a hurry for? I didn't understand. He went straight out into this large body of water with these funny rocks, and he just stood out there. And he didn't share it with me till the next day, but he told me, he said, that's what I saw in my peripheral in the dream. Alex did see it. He got to see all of it. God, he let him see all of it. And that's what he wanted me to see in my dream. And I just can't even explain what that did for us. I knew, Kobe knew, that God was already working a good in our life. He knew. It helped me. Just the anger was completely gone. Not the pain, not the sadness, not the longing to see Alex, but the anger. I don't believe for a minute God expected it to stop at the grave. I think if we do our job here on this earth well for generations to come, he can use us. But what God can work out of a tragedy is nothing short of amazing to me. And I believe that he is healing us still. He has sustained us. It doesn't, the pain doesn't go away. I believe it moves in and makes friends with our heart. The sadness is here to stay. I expect to be sad, to some level of sadness, all the days of my life. I miss him. I want to see whatever he has in mind for me. I'm for it. Whatever path, I'm on it. And I want my life to matter. This can't be for nothing. He couldn't have taken Alex for nothing. And not to let God have my life would be wasteful. I want to hear when I arrive. I want to hear, well done, my good friend.